Good afternoon, everybody. This is Hunter Mozingo bringing you your daily market insight video for Thursday, August the 5th, about 7 minutes after market close here in Jacksonville, Florida, approximately 4:07 p.m. Eastern Time. And in today's market insight video, we're going to look at two examples of good follow through following an earnings gap. So we got two stocks that we want to look at. Both are owned in-house. And then we're also going to look at a breakout or gap up buy that we made today following an earnings report from a technology/growth company as well. But before we do that, let's look at what just happened today so you can see small caps lead broad rally. So the Russell 2000 up just under 2% at 1.8, mid caps up just under 1% at 0.93, the Dow up 0.78, the Q's up 0.63, and the S&P up 0.6%. So like I said, small caps leading. We saw oil and gas have a good day today. Banks have a good day today, which is what led me to have broad rally in the what just happened title there, because for a lot of 2021, it's really been one or the other, oil and banks doing well versus growth or vice versa. And so today we saw a little bit of continuity amongst the stock market and some different areas doing well together for once. So market state remains the same as Don's previous video, uptrend with the SML still in red. That is because small caps are still not back above their 50-day moving average. However, they did poke their head above their 21 EMA. We're going to look at that in just a second here. The market trend protection gauge stays the same with one small exception here. We moved this arrow from a yellow on market leaders to neutral, as some of the market leaders have had poor reactions to earnings, but have ultimately acted pretty well. So adjusted that just to put it under the neutral, the small little arrow here under market leaders. Short term and midterm are both still bullish, pointing towards neutral, and that is strictly because small caps have not gotten back above their moving averages. Like I said, they did just stick their head above the 21, but not quite able to get above the 50. So we're going to look at that chart in a moment, because there's a level on the small caps on IWM to be particular that I think is of importance. But before we get to that, as I always do, let me reference the team here at Revere. This is me in the middle. You can see Moral has been added as well. If you have any questions about the video, in particular any stocks, any comments I made, you can send me an email, hunter@revereasset.com. If you have questions about the company as a whole, what our investment approach is, you can email any of these guys, Dan, Tim, Alex, or Don at revereasset.com, or now Moral at revereasset.com as well. Or you can call us 855-732-5932 if you would like to do that. So let's get into the charts. We're going to start here with the S&P, which you can see really just kind of we're eking out towards new highs here on the S&P, not too far off of them as far. I mean, we're kind of just making new highs every day, it feels like. Not entirely, but the S&P right here at 441, 3% above the 50, 1.2 above the 21. Although we are at all-time highs, that is not excessively extended on the S&P, nor are we extended on the Dow. The Dow is about 0.5% off the 21, 0.7, 1.7% from the 50. This 350 level is of importance for the Dow here. And then on the Qs, the 370 level, QQQ, is also very important here. So really getting close to that 370 level, I'd watch for a push past that area. Starting to get moderately extended on the Qs, but nothing crazy at the current moment. 5% from the 50, 1.9 from the 21. Like I said, just a little bit extended. Mid cap starting to look a little bit more attractive. You can see pretty tight here as they've got all these moving averages coiling beneath them. MDY or mid caps above the 21, above the 50, and above the 8. And IWM is the laggard. Like we mentioned, this is small caps, still below the 50, but we like that it got above the highs of the previous 2 days today, and got above the 21 EMA. I would set alerts here right around, I would set an alert at about, and I'm going to do this here with you, I'm going to set one at 224, which is pretty much right around where these highs of these 3 days are, right around that 224 level. Then I'm going to set another alert at 225 in the event that there's follow through. It can get through the 50-day, or at least touch it and see what happens here. That's the level I'm watching on small caps. Also, important to note, we saw TLT pull back a little bit, even though this has been a very strong uptrend, which means that TNX or yields were slightly up today. However, that didn't impact growth stocks. So make of that what you will. The correlation does not always make sense, or it does not always explain moves, but TLT slightly down, TN up, TNX up, which boosted banks, but a lot of growth stocks also still showing strength today as well. So let's get right into those two gap ups that showed strength today. And the first is going to be Square. So we bought this gap up. We've owned Square in the past. We bought this gap up. I mentioned in Monday's video, first buy around 261, second buy around 270. And so what you can see is the following 2 days is a little bit of a shakeout here, right? You ran up to 280 on the gap here. 280.88 was the high. Put in an inside day here, got close to the 8, didn't quite touch it, and then you slightly undercut the 80 EMA on this day and reclaim, which subsequently leads to some really big strength today, an 8% up day on another big volume day, a big breakout past that 283 level on Square here, and solid action. So we actually added a little bit more to this on the way up today. And the other position here is ZI, which is a little bit of a weird one. Gapped up initially on massive volume here on this day. You can see the 23 million shares traded, which is pretty much 10x over their normal daily volume. But as the day progressed, this stock came all the way back. It was up to nearly 64, 65. I think 63, 66 is the high. Comes all the way back. And so they announced a secondary offering after the close of 55.25. And you can see on this day, it never quite made it to it, got to 55, undercut the low of this day by a slight bit, and then finished very strong, and then finished strong again today. And this volume is something you have to take note of. Back-to-back 20 million shares traded days on a stock that normally trades 2.3 million on average, closer to 2 million before these last couple of days. And then another 15 million today. Got to take notice of this stock, even though it was a wonky way it got out of this area here, this 55 to 60. It is something you got to take note of. So ZI and Square, two gap ups acting well. Datadog is the gap up that we bought today. So Datadog was up, traded between 126 and 135. Initially at the open was right around the 130 to 133 level. We put a small position on and then added a tiny bit to it. But big volume on Datadog, a big breakout over this 119, 120 level here. Strong move for a software stock. Additionally, we sold ARKK for a small gain in Grotection, strictly to reduce exposure. Nothing wrong with the ETF, nothing wrong with the stocks in the ETF for the most part at the current time. However, we were just reducing exposure as we added some new names today, including Roku. We added a position here to Roku in Grotection when it reclaimed this 400 level, as well as the 50-day moving average, which are pretty much right there correspondent with each other, as you can see. And a couple more standouts from today. Net has earnings today. I don't know what the numbers look like. We're going to find out here maybe when it shows the after hours data. It looks like they're down a little bit, 3%. 21 EMA is right there at 114. But a standout today, like I just mentioned, earnings today. So we'll see how the reaction plays out over the course of today and tomorrow. Also, Nvidia, a position in Grotection as well, showing some strength today, even though it's on lighter volume. Yeti showing some strength today, acting well. XOP and KRE, like I mentioned, oil and gas, up 2.77% today. Not a leading sector by any means. Same kind of situation for KRE, up but not a leading sector. You can see KRE is sticking its head above the 21 EMA. Might be something to take note of there for regional banks. And lastly, some smaller companies that had some good follow through after their earnings. Sprout Social, this is a social media engagement analytics platform company, up another 5% after being up about 13% yesterday. And then LSPD, which is a point of sale cloud-based company, up 8% today on a nice 100% increase in volume. So some good follow through in some certain areas. You also had NTLA up on earnings today as well. A nice 12% move for NTLA. And a few losers, I'm going to run through these very quickly. Revolve down about 14%, 15% on their earnings. They did hold this 60 level, however. Enphase down about 5% today. Not really sure what was driving the weakness for Enphase, but Enphase down 5%. Sedge was the recent earnings gap in the solar space. Sedge also breaking the lows of the gap day yesterday, and just not looking the greatest for how you would want a gap up to look here on Sedge. And a couple more weak ones here. NUE and STLD were pretty weak today, sitting right on or very close to their moving averages. TTD, the trade desk, weak today, down 3.5%, and ON on semiconductor down about 2% after a big move. Nothing wrong with ON, just a laggard today. And the last one, Etsy, got hit pretty hard on earnings, wasn't quite able to get back above this 50 and the 21 level, even though it looked like it was going to for the better part of the day. One of the not pretty ones from earnings today. So that's going to wrap up the video, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for listening. As always, I will see you on the podcast this weekend.